Well, hey YouTube, it's Petey, and I just got back from the Copernicus Center. Today is November 2nd, and I saw the Beat Tour. So the Beat Tour is Danny Carey, Steve Vai, Tony Levin, and Adrian Belew playing Adrian Belew's music from 1981 to 1984. Adrian was a frontman in King Crimson, and it's being the 40th anniversary of that music. He put a band together with the with the blessing of Robert Fripp, who was the guitar player in King Crimson back in the 80s. You know, King Crimson had been around, and he had reinvented them, and he didn't want to use the name King Crimson. He wanted to call this band Discipline. Well, they ended up calling their album Discipline, and they used King Crimson, the name for his old band, for this new band. The only similarity being Robert Fripp. He was the constant. And the past 10 years or so, Robert Fripp had been touring, and he was playing the music of King Crimson previously to when Adrian joined, and Tony Levin, Bill Bruford, the original drummer, and they kind of redefined King Crimson. They really, it's very unique music. It's, I would say it's really ahead of its time. Seeing it performed again tonight live, I guess, first off, the Beat Tour was incredible. It may have been the best concert I've ever seen. As far as a rock band firing on all cylinders, you won't find a more talented group. Tony Levin, the bass player, if you look at his discography, the bands, the people he's recorded with everybody. Like an astounding amount of music. Tony Levin, really talented. And what stood out to me seeing them live is he's just great. He's a lot of fun to watch. He sounds phenomenal. It's a real variety of sounds from Tony, and he's using a variety of instruments. He's in the position of the bass player. He's holding down the low end, but he's using a Chapman stick, which is a unique 10-stringed instrument. And he also used a Nord keyboard, which the times when he was playing keyboard bass, it didn't really sound very much synthesizer-y. It's just sounded great. You very well could have, if you weren't paying attention, you would not have guessed. Also, he is doing the backup vocals. Now, the drummer is from Tool, and this guy, Danny Carey, just an amazing talent, incredible drummer. Just for a live thing, he really, and a variety of sounds. He was using a combination of electronic sounds with traditional drum kit. He had a massive kit. Steve Vai in the role of Robert Fripp is expanding upon Robert's original guitar parts in a fluidity that only Steve Vai could dream of, and keeping it in the vein of the original music. But there is a lot going on. I should mention both of the guitar players, Adrian and Steve, were playing through Roland Jazz Chorus amplifiers. There's something about those amplifiers which makes them project the guitar. They're bright sounding amplifiers, and the sound of the show was really powerful. It was very clean. Adrian's vocals are superb, and it's not. This isn't. He wrote this stuff when he was in the prime of his life, and to say the guy's in his early 70s and he's still able to do this, there wasn't a single vocal hiccup, and he didn't do any Lounge Lizard version where they'll drop it down an octave or they'll sing a third or a fifth lower or something, curveball. They'll do something different in the live performance than they did in the studio. There was none of that. He's just able to do what he did when he was a kid, and it was such a thrill to see him playing through the JC120 amplifiers again and hear it, to really be able to hear the guitar. I'm an Adrian Belew fan. I see him every time he comes to town, and I miss the Roland Jazz Chorus amps. Ever since he switched over to using the Johnson Millenniums or the atomic powered speaker cabinets that he's known to use, I've just been longing for the days when you could really hear him, because my wife and I have seen shows where we'll show up and we're like, we can't hear him. And then maybe 3 songs in, the sound man will nudge him up. But it's never like it used to be. And when you're paying to see an act like Adrian Belew, you're going to really be interested in hearing the guitar, you know. Speaking of sound, I met Thomas Nordegg. I had made my way to the front I had great seats in the last row, but it was good for me. It gave me a little extra room. I could stand up and lean up against the wall, which was nice. Before the band came out and started, I made my way to the front, and I was looking at the stage stuff, and there was a taller guy off to the side who smiled, and I went over and struck up a conversation with him. My daughter had bought me this shirt, and I was shocked to see how many Mr. Bungle fans that I ran into that were thumbing upping me and gave me an opportunity to tell them the story about how I ended up getting the shirt. My daughter had the shirt made for me. Anyway, I'm talking to Sanjay. He was from Tampa. He had flown from Tampa, Florida to see the Beat Tour. And I'm having this conversation with him, and I mentioned Thomas Nordegg. I'm telling him, oh, well, Thomas, he was Frank Zappa's guitar tech. And since then, he's worked with Steve, and he's into MIDI guitar, like the more complicated aspects of the rig switching, stuff like MIDI continuous controller messages. This is more complicated stuff. So that's Thomas's forte. I don't know a real lot about him. I've seen a little bit on YouTube, and it's always a joy for me to see this guy who looks like somebody's grandfather who knows all about MIDI. and he can play too. So I was able to fist bump. Thank you so much, if you're watching this, Thomas, for taking the time. He had come out with Adrian's Mustang, and he was tuning it. He had it backstage, brought it out, and tuned it again. And I said, I'm talking to the Sanjay, and he said, yeah, this Thomas Nordegg guy, he was Zappa's guitar tech, and he worked with Steve, and he's on this tour. And he said, oh, you mean that guy right there? And I look up, and there he is with the Mustang. So I said, oh, excuse me, I have to go see if I can shake his hand. So I, Thomas, and he's like, what? And I said, please come here and shake my hand. And he goes like, so then he came over, and I said, thank you. I just wanted to say that I met you, and if we could shake hands. So I gave him a fist bump, and he's old-fashioned. He went to shake my hand. I'm like, well, we'll do the fist bump. I think post-COVID, we don't shake hands anymore. At the most you can expect is a bump. So that was like, I can't tell you how big of a thrill for me that was. It was more thrilling for me to bump fists with Thomas, because I've already met Belew I don't know how many times, although it's always a huge thrill to get a chance to have a conversation with him. He's a brilliant guy, and he was in top form on the Beat Tour. I was expecting him to be showing signs of, he's not 50. I was beginning to see him not perform as I'm used to seeing him, but boy, he showed no sign of anything but just completely putting on the top-notch show that he's been known to. Anybody that's been to a Belew show will tell you how great a performer that he is, and he is in his prime doing these songs, which this music it's like it's still ahead of its time. Hearing it performed today, it's a testament to what they were able to do as a band, and also how good of a job Belew did with writing the stuff. He did a really good job lyrically, I think, writing that stuff. He joked about them playing Dig Me, their greatest hit, in the first set. He said, are you surprised that we played our big hit in the first set? And he laughed about it, but I gotta say, that was the one piece of music that I was really hoping that would be on the set list, and it was. So I met way more people than I usually do when I go to a show because of this shirt. So I wanted to specifically say thank you to my daughter for having this shirt made, and how thoughtful it was of you. Of course, there's a great story behind how I ended up with this thing, and I was able to share that, and people love the story. I retold that story at least a half a dozen times to groups of people tonight, and I was able to tell this pretty long story and keep their attention. And it always had people laughing and digging it. So, super huge special thanks to my daughter Deet for getting me the Bungle t-shirt, and I saw a good amount of people wearing Zappa t-shirts, and then there was King Crimson t-shirts. There was a guy with a Great Gatsby t-shirt on. I thought, is he a Rob Fetters fan? It seemed like something Fetters would be into all of his books that he reads. Anyway, you guys, they're going to be doing a simulcast November 10th. You can look into the Beat Tour getting your pay-per-view. And I'm guessing this will be available as a DVD maybe eventually. So if you can't make it to, if they're not coming to your town, or you'd like to just pay the $25, I believe it is, to watch this at home, there is a lot of footage on YouTube of varying quality. Well, that was one of the things that universally, when I talked to people tonight, they said, I haven't been watching. There was a few people that said, I know it's all over the internet, because that was one of the things that I was bringing up was, have you noticed the amount of buzz around this tour is exceptional? It seems like people, that the time was right. And Adrian said on stage, this is exactly what I had hoped for how this would have turned out. And I gotta say, I don't think, no offense to Adrian Belew, I don't think you could have imagined it turning out as good as it was from where I was sitting, which was the very back seat in the house. My wife didn't go. My wife felt the ticket was too expensive, and she's already seen King Crimson and seen Belew a bunch. I wish she would have been there. After the show was over, I moseyed my way down to the front again, and I found myself standing next to Steve, who plays guitar in a handful of Chicago tribute bands, Deacon Blues being one of them. And I said, are you the guitar guy? And he said, I might be. I said, I met you in Bolingbrook at a Pretenders cover band show, and it was him. So it was nice to see some familiar faces, and then met a guy and his old lady from, they were from central Indiana, or I'm not going to be able to remember where they were from, but they looked up my YouTube and they subscribed to my YouTube. They were great, that couple. I had been talking to them for a while, and then their friend said, we might want to sneak in line here. I left at that point to get in line, and the line, it went all the way around the venue to where I had parked. So it was like at least 3 blocks long, the line, to get into the Copernicus Center. They need to have a few more employees holding doors open and ushering people in. They kept yelling, there's 2 lines open. Well, why do you just have one door that funnels into, it was 10 minutes till showtime, and the line was 3 blocks long. I had never seen a line that long for a show. So I ended up going back to the front, because I was standing out there for an hour talking to this guy and his girlfriend. They were cool, And there's nothing more that I like hanging out with cool people. I'm knowledgeable about some of these bands and different things, so it gives me a chance to have an interesting conversation. And that's one of the reasons I really like going to these things, is meeting people and getting a chance to flex some of my knowledge and just different stories about different bands and different musicians. It's always the really fun part of it for me is meeting people. And no shortage of meeting people thanks to this shirt. The Beat Tour, like, I've seen Belew so many times, and I've seen Tony's band, the Stickmen. I saw Belew with his trio with the Stickmen. They did a Crimson tour where it was Belew's trio and then the Stickmen, and they took turns, and then they all got together and played Crimson music from those 3 albums at 1981 to 1984 period. That was maybe 2012 or so when they did that. 2011, I don't know. And we saw Crimson on Halloween in Y2K. We saw the double trio. That, seeing them was like a much different vibe, though. This was really fun. Really fun. And it was basically like Robert Who. Having Steve there. Steve doesn't sit on a stool. And he has a completely different approach to the instrument. So it's kind of unfair to compare them. That being said, people always make a big deal about Robert Fripp and King Crimson. And in this instance, playing the music that Belew wrote, I did not miss Robert. And I felt that it had a different feel to it. The PA in this venue, the Copernicus Center, is a newer venue. The PA is outstanding. It sounded really good. It was really defined, really loud, excellent sounding concert. The performances were absolutely stellar. This was Belew's finest moment. I've seen him sometimes where it's like he's playing up here and everything else that's going on stage is maybe not so much gelling with where he is at musically, but this was, everybody was right in there, and they made just a cacophony. It was just glorious. So definitely check out the pay-per-view before you go watching stuff that people film with their phones, although there's a lot of that going around out there. So try to find something that sounds good if you're going to watch it, but I would definitely just recommend you bypass and go for a pro shot. So that's going to be November 10th. You can check that out. If you saw the show, please leave a comment. Let me know what you guys thought or anything interesting. I'm going to cut you guys loose. Yeah, that B tour was a show to remember for me. It was like Adrian is having this moment now in the media. People on social media are saying this is the best band that's touring in the world right now, and it is. It by far is. They were Steve coming in to with Belew, and then this Danny and Tony. You're not going to find a better rock and roll outfit. You're just not going to find one. Anyway, you guys, thank you for taking the time to join me here. I met some great people tonight. The music was incredible. This will be one I will never forget. This. Pretty cool. I just wish my wife would have been wanting to come, like as excited about it as I was. So I had to go alone. Kitty. Come on, kitty. Kitty, kitty. He's crying. I gotta go pick him up so I can pet him. All right, you guys. Kita calls. I gotta cut you loose. Keep yourselves warm. And what I always like to say is hug your pets. That's what I always say. And peace. I gotta go do that right now.